Looking at the forecast highs across the state of California, the first thing that I notice is just how warm the Sierra is going to be throughout the day today, even into the mid 70s in some places. We have sunny skies. And then in the long range forecast, it looks like much of California and the entire West is going to remain above average in terms of temperatures. So with a lot of warm air and sunshine coming in, there are some concerns out there, and we have a number of flood watches across the state. Now, I know that sounds weird. It's warm air and sunshine, but there's flood watches. But it all makes sense when you start to think back to how much snow we picked up this last season. We had over 10 atmospheric river events, and as you can see on this seasonal snowfall map, some parts of the Sierra had over 75 feet. That's more than 900 inches of snow. It's up there with the top 3 snowiest years on record, which is good for a lot of reasons that we'll talk about in just a moment, but it is also creating some of the concerns like the flood watches that are in place through Monday afternoon, and some parts of Yosemite Valley have actually seen closures because of the snowmelt. What's happening here is as the warm air moves in, as the sunshine moves in, it melts the snow, and then it overwhelms some of the rivers, the reservoirs, and leads to some flooding downstream. So that's the negative aspects, and it does make sense that this is going to be something we're talking about over the next couple of weeks because there's still a lot of snow on the ground. They did a snow survey towards the end of May, or the beginning of May, and the last 2 years when they did this, there was no snow on the ground whatsoever. This time around, there is still 6 feet of snow, and if you look at the percent normal to date, so comparing how much snow is on the ground right now compared to an average year, in the northern Sierra, we have about 2 times as much snow as what you would expect. Central Sierra is 3 times as much snow, and southern Sierra is almost 4.5 times as much snow as what you see in a normal year. And that's talking about what's still on the ground right now, which is what's going to be melting over the next couple of months as more of the warm air moves in. So we'll keep an eye on all of those flood watches, but there are a lot of benefits that have come from all of the rain and snow that we picked up this season. Everybody knows that we certainly saw a lot of precipitation, over 10 atmospheric river events. That's bad for some reasons. We had flooding, we have the flood watches still in place right now, some damages, a lot of, you could say, destruction. But then there's also 2 sides to this coin. We have a massive increase in our water supply. The reservoirs, while they may overflow in some places, you'd probably rather have them full than empty, and that's something we certainly saw over the last couple of months. There's just a lot more water out there for industries like agriculture, environmental protection, just basic uses by everyday people. And then what I think is the biggest benefit that we saw with the water and all the snow that's moved in is the improvements that we have in the drought monitor. Just looking at December, around 80% of the state was still in severe drought. Now, only 5-6 months later, 0% of the state is in severe drought, and only 6% is even in moderate drought category. And much of the state of California is out of any drought category whatsoever. So that's great news right there. It's also good news as we think about the fire season coming up. As the snowpack melts over the next couple of weeks, maybe even next couple of months, depending on how warm we get, that's going to continue to bring moisture into our fuels, which shortens the fire season and also reduces the risk for a large extreme fire event. So lots to talk about. We'll keep an eye on California water as we move forward.